Have you ever wondered why guys like Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, or Anthony Edwards seems like they have rocket boosters in their sneakers? It's not just only about talent, it's about movement mechanics. And in today's video, I'm going to show you one thing that they all do that you probably don't, and that's delayed knee extension. A very common issue that I see most hoopers deal with when they try to accelerate fast is that they will try to pop straight up. There's going to be three things here. They extend their knees way too early. They don't use the hips as a contribution for power. And finally, for the third thing is that they kill their angles. And this is why it makes you slower off the dribble and much easier to guard. It's probably because your body isn't using the right mechanics to explode for the first few steps. And all that starts with two things: the drop phase and the delayed knee extension. The first concept here is triple extension. You've probably heard athletes or coaches throwing this term around a lot. And most people, and even I myself included, thought that triple extension was basically your ankles, knees, and hips extending at the same time. But in reality, it doesn't happen. What happens is your hips extend first, then your knees, then your ankles. There's a sequence of events that needs to happen in order to achieve triple extension. And this is where real speed comes through when you have the right sequence down. So you can think of your lower leg as like a whip. So your hips extend first, then your knees, then your ankles. This is how Russell Westbrook or Anthony Edwards are able to have a super quick explosive first step and having a forward momentum without wasting any energy. So this whole concept starts with the drop phase. So this is basically where you allow gravity to pull you down, right? And you actually don't even need to use any energy. A lot of players think that they need to be really aggressive with it, really trying to exert everything themselves. But why don't we use gravity as your best friend, right? We can actually use gravity to pull ourselves down, right? And this will allow your hips to actually go forward and allowing your shins to actually draw closer to the ground, right? Into these low angle positions, which will help with you having a better first step and acceleration. By doing so, you allow your shin angle to drop into a positive shin angle. Your shins are now closer to the ground. And when you push that forward, your hips are naturally going to follow. As an example, this could be like a vertical jump, right? When we try to jump up maximally, all of us needs to dip into a quick little squat before we jump up. We're not going to jump up just by not using our hips contribution at all and just jumping up like that, right? Imagine you not using your hips at all and you just basically doing it like this compared to you using your hips to drop down and exploding it out. How much of that power are you missing when you don't use those glutes to actually help you with the delayed knee extension and explosiveness? So this position right here sets up the angle for power without you stepping up or out, and you're basically falling into the drive phase when you're trying to blow by your defender or when you're trying to sneak by them. The third concept here is going to be the delayed knee extension. So I've talked about a little bit on the previous concept, but now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into it. So a very common mistake I see, especially with people who have done ACL surgeries or just knee surgeries in general, is that they don't load their quads enough. And what they do is they will straighten their knees way too early. So let's say if I'm actually pushing forward, right? This can be really, really good with the sled exercise. I'll be showing you guys later, but I'll just be talking about the concept right now. So right here, right, most people, when they explode out, is that you want to actually, let's say I'm in this angle, right? I'm just using this as example. So I'm showing it in slow motion, right? So from here, where you actually want to push your hips forward while your quads and your knees are isometrically holding that position. If you do not have enough strength in this position for the knees to handle that force, right? What you do is, let's say when you're trying to get your hips over, they actually extend too early, and then you miss out all of that power from the quads and your glutes. So we're able to create delayed knee extension by pushing our hips over our knees in this position. And by doing this, you're going to keep your glutes engaged in this position and creating forward momentum instead of a vertical bounce. And for the fourth concept here is going to be the wheel concept and sprint rhythm. So after the drop phase comes the wheel phase, and this is where your legs are going to be in a rolling rhythm, just like a hula hoop. The smoother your wheels are in the wheels phase, the more momentum you can create step after step. And this all starts with the proper shin angles and knee timing. So you don't even need to run hundreds of sprints. You need to get your body accustomed to finding that shin drop angle and learning how to push from this onwards. And here's going to be a few drills that I really like in order for you to train without over-analyzing or overthinking it. The first drill here, if you're a total beginner with sprinting or learning how to have an explosive first step, is the wall drop hold. So you basically want to find a wall, right? You want to squat a little into it, depending on your comfort. So some people, they might want to squat a little more. Some people will be a little bit more upright. Just find what works well for you. And from here, what you're wanting to do is, maybe for me, is around a quarter squat, okay? I'm basically having everything not moving. I'm just gonna be falling forward and then catching myself into this position. So this is going to really work on that positive shin angle, having that hips over the knee, and this will really build out some posture awareness and having comfort with falling into the wall. So for the second exercise here is going to be this tall fall into sprint. So what you're wanting to do is basically similar to the first drill that we did with the wall drop hold. We're going to fall into it, right? And then we're going to learn how to fall into those positive shin angles and then trying to sprint out of it. So this will really work on your posture, using gravity to your advantage, and learning the timing on how to accelerate out of those positions. So the third drill here is very similar to the first two that we just did, but it's a progression of it. And what you're going to do is you're going to find a partner to catch you before you fall into the sprint. So the partner will be supporting the fall, and it might be at a steeper positive shin angle than what you're used to. And from there, the partner is going to release, and you're going to be falling into the sprint and trying to catch yourself to accelerate out of it. This really helps with grooving the body angles and also the coordination to make sure you don't fall flat on your face. The fourth drill here is sled resisted sprints. So using the sled to resist your sprints is a great way to provide some additional resistance. It can be a great strength exercise to work on your explosiveness, but overall, it can be great to make sure you're dropping into those positive shin angles once again and teaching your body to be doing the delayed knee extension continuously throughout that entire distance. Because the sled is attached to you and there's a resistance on you, now you need to continuously accelerate forward in order to move yourself forward in space. And the fifth drill here that doesn't require any partners or equipment is as simple as doing hill sprints. So you want to find a hill that's around 5 to 15 degrees steep, and this is going to continuously push you and accelerate forward whilst really emphasizing on the body leaning forward, the positive shin angle once again, and the delayed knee extension. And last but not least, for the sixth drill here, super optional, but is performing some barefoot sprinting. This is going to be super good to bring some foot awareness and cleaning up some of the ankle mechanics that you might have, and just honing in on some of the concepts that we talked about in this video earlier, and building out that awareness, that posture awareness, that ability to fall into it without your shoes being all cushioned with, like, especially in basketball shoes where there's usually quite a bit of cushion. You can do this with either in barefoot shoes or barefoot to kind of get the sensory proprioception into your body. So on top of that, not only do you need to really work on the mechanics, which actually plays a very big part, the other thing is also the strength part. So you really want to make sure that your quads are actually able to isometrically hold in that position where I talked about earlier. If you do not have the strength there, you'll be having a faster or an earlier knee extension, which will not help you with creating power from your hips and your knees, and so you might be having a slower first step. So to keep this video short, having great quad strength will be super important, and I'll just want to show you two to three exercises that I really like. And for the first one here, it's going to be the front squats. By having your heels elevated in the front squats, this will preferentially bias the quads a little bit more compared to maybe in the back squat where you'll be using your hips and your glutes a little more. And this will basically teach you to accelerate better. There's been research papers that shown that by doing front squats, this will also challenge your ability of your torso to be staying upright the entire time, which will really lock in on your core and your upper back strength. But if you feel like you're a beginner and you feel like doing barbell front squats will be super tough for you, and maybe you don't really know how to get your wrist into that position and it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, what you can do as an alternative is actually using dumbbells, still using heel elevation, but you're going to hold it in the goblet style like so, and you're going to have your toes on the floor. And the one important thing here is you don't want to sink into the hips like this, right? Where your elbows are basically touching your knees. What you want to do is try to drive your knees forward, making sure you're having an upright torso whilst doing so, so your elbows don't actually touch your thighs, and then you're going to explode out of there. So you want to make sure you're having the upright torso just like a front squat, trying to really drive your knees forward and then explode out. And another variation that I really like is the heels elevated Zercher squats. So this allows way more loading compared to the dumbbell goblet squat because your hands will be a factor. And from here, you want to just basically use a pad, right? So that your elbows won't be feeling as painful. But of course, at some point you can just use it without it. And then really wanting to make sure your elbows stays up, right? Trying to drive your knees forward, right? Without your elbows touching down, and then trying to explode out from that position. So this will really create more loading, very similar to the front squats, and having the benefits of just trying to improve that quad strength. So if you're a hooper who's looking to become more explosive, more mobile, and even stronger, check out the group's description below for my free Gains Chamber community, where you get free strength training programs, you get weekly one-to-one calls with me if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And hopefully I'll be able to see you on the inside.